I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and in the news once again today is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. In a clip I'm about to show you, the Speaker of the House was making a series of, once again, unsubstantiated and unprovable claims. This, of course, should not come as a surprise, as the Speaker, along with most of the GOP, seem to thrive in an ecosystem based entirely off of lies and fabrications. Despite the Speaker nearly losing his job due to a lack of party allegiance, it would appear that he is once again back in the good arms of fellow Republicans and spewing nonsense nonstop. Johnson had a number of things to say once again about voting rights, as well as illegal immigrants voting in our elections. Take a look.
So actually, on the first question, the answer is that it's unanswerable. That is the problem. States are not allowed right now to prove, if somebody claims on that simple form that they're a citizen, they can vote, they're not allowed to prove whether it's true or not. We all know intuitively that a lot of illegals are voting in federal elections, but it's not been something that is easily provable. We don't have that number. This legislation will allow us to do exactly that. It will prevent that from happening, and if someone tries to do it, it will now be unlawful, and the states will have a mechanism to prove whether they are or not. And to suggest that this is some sort of revenge tour is kind of a silly notion.
You know, for a group that sure do loves to recite the phrase, facts don't care about your feelings, they sure do get a hell of a lot of facts wrong and get really mad when you try to call them out on it. So let's address the obvious. First off, illegal immigrants are not coming into the country to vote secretly in droves for Joe Biden or anyone else for that matter. As Mike Johnson even just said in the clip, he cannot prove it. He doesn't know, he just intuits that this is happening. So in other words, he has a feeling. There is numerous studies and data, all available publicly, that indicate that there is no grand conspiracy of illegal immigrants or non-citizens going out and voting in droves illegally. In the very, very rare instances where a non-US citizen does cast a vote in a federal election, it's often due to a misconception, as non-citizens do have the right to vote, especially in local elections, but they do not have the right to vote in federal elections. Any non-citizen that is caught voting in a federal election, such as the presidential election, faces fines, imprisonment, or both. To provide a bit of evidence and context for this claim, in 2017, a study was conducted over 40 jurisdictions and over 20 million votes. Across over 20 million votes, only 30 instances registered as potential non-citizens voting in a federal election. And of these 30 instances, they were only flagged as potential breaches of the federal law. It does not mean that they definitively broke the law, it just means that it warranted further investigation and required further proof. This evidence naturally contradicts the narrative that Johnson and Trump and all of the GOP candidates have spewed for years. Illegal immigrants are not coming here to vote. Again, even Johnson himself admitted there is no proof. You cannot prove it. It's just an intuition. Now, I might be in the minority here, but I don't think we should try to start rewriting voting laws based on one man's intuition there may be something off. Again, this isn't a surprise, though, as Speaker Johnson is merely a mouthpiece and puppet of Trump. In fact, even a few weeks ago, they met in Florida at Trump's compound to discuss introducing this very bill they want to do now. Again, this is just a tactic that Trump and Johnson and so many other Republicans want to use because it further restricts voting rights to people that naturally don't want to vote for them. This is the same tired rhetoric they employ every election, and it has never once been proven. To me, this is merely indicative that Johnson, along with the rest of the GOP, recognize that Trump is in a pretty bad situation. The Republicans are not popular right now. They are not poised to win, and if the previous election was any indication, Republicans are losing their grip. Despite their rampant gerrymandering and numerous attempts to suppress voters across the country and across demographics, they are slipping and they know they're losing power and influence. Trump and Mike Johnson should absolutely be ashamed of themselves. But frankly, I don't think they have the capacity to feel shame. There are hundreds of thousands of Americans that go to work the polls, that give up their free time to ensure your right is carried out peacefully and smoothly, that your vote is cast and it counts. And people like Mike Johnson and people like Trump are just spitting in the face of those citizens that work so diligently to keep your right in place. So when you go to the polls this November and when you cast your ballot, in addition to getting people like Trump and Johnson out of positions of power, make sure you thank those workers at the polls. It is such a thankless job, and they have to deal with so much and so many constant attacks, and really they are there to serve you and to serve this country. I promise you, when they start passing these bills targeting immigrants and non-citizens first, they won't stop there. Voting can be boring and can be often a long process, but it is so important and it is your guaranteed right. So go to the polls, cast your vote, and have your voice heard, and get people like Trump and Johnson the hell out of office.